open up the demon mind and let it go.
Hey, it's Danny Roth with SYFY WIRE at New York Comic Con 2017. I'm here with Snyder, Greg Capullo. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing great, man. Now that we've been massaged, putting our microphones on, and lovely powder, which felt very nice with the brushes, I feel good.
It's been on my mind, actually. I was thinking about this because we're at New York Comic Con. This huge thing happened, which is that they pulled Punisher because of this tragedy that happened, and I was like, this guy's, you know, he's a vigilante. Who's the biggest vigilante in DC? It's Batman. Were you thinking about that when you were coming up with all these darker sides of him, or like where were you coming from that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we wrote the Joker a bunch of times, and Joker's a problematic character in that regard, where people get attached to him that are a lot of crazy people out there that sort of see him as this sort of form of chaos. But what I would say is that what you have to be able to do when you're writing these characters is divest yourself from that and say, yes, I'm going to be sensitive and make sure that I'm not doing anything that leans into that kind of take on the characters. But at the same time, like, what these comics are about, or what the darkest versions of Bruce are about, are his personal fears. So even the darkest one, like the Batman Who Laughs, who is the Joker Batman, and he's darker even than the Joker, because Bruce is more calculating and dark and frightening as the Joker. So you're going to a nightmarish place. But what you have to be able to say is, this is an extension of my character's fears, of Bruce saying, why don't I do the thing I'm supposed to do and take this guy out of the equation? And what you realize is it's actually a cautionary tale about those kinds of things. All of that stuff, you know, you do consider and you do think about, and it is a sensitive time for all of it. But, you know, you have to be true to what the characters are about and what your story's about.
But it's also fun, and that's the other thing that's great about the story, is that it really is a lot of fun, and it wouldn't be without the right art. So what's the influence?
You know, when I'm tasked to design a character, as I was the 7 Batman, it's just like I try and go, what is the essence? And I use the biggest, earliest example that I ever heard growing up wanting to get in comics to go, Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man, so webs, spider. So you just try and, you know, connect those two pieces together. It's that much, the ingredient is that much thought, you know, and the rest of it's complete feeling toward it. So there's the logical side, and then there's just the visceral side. That's just open up the demon mind and let it go.
So before we wrap, it's almost Halloween. I know you guys both have an interest in horror, as do I. Is there a story that you come back to when you're being influenced by something? There's some story or movie that you watch over and over again every time? So
we saw everything, like Faces of Death, all that kind of stuff before you were supposed to, all the slasher films. But the one that really hit me was Night of the Living Dead, the black and white. And I remember when I got it, I was like, oh, it's black and white, this sucks, like this is gonna be awful. And the thing that really hit me about it, I didn't realize it at the time because I was young, I was my kid's age, really. It was deeply, deeply about the hopelessness of that moment. And the zombies were scary, but what was really scary was the fact that nobody could get along well enough to get out of that house. It stayed with me, and it caused me a lot of sleepless nights and anxiety and panic, and I didn't know why. But when I look back, it's actually my favorite movie, the same way Frankenstein is like my favorite book for those reasons. That horror, when it's done well, I feel like it boils down conflict to kind of its core, where you're facing something that's an extension of your worst fear in a monster, and the monster might be visually scary or scary, you know, in an objective way, but deeply what's scary about it is that it's either the representation of your fear about the world, or it's something that's going to make clear your fear about yourself and the fact that that thing might be true in the face of adversity. And so that movie to me is like still my favorite movie, even though it literally is the one that scared me, you know, beyond reason when I was a child.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, yeah.
Keep watching for the rest of the New York Comic Con coverage of SYFY.